Tower crane parts. Lots of tower crane parts. Tower cranes. Over the period of 10 years, we worked many times, hundreds of times, with the police, the air ambulance, the fire service, prison service, many services. And I remember one incident with the police, and before I go any further, I hear bad things pointed at the police, and yeah, there's bad apples, but never in 10 years did I witness any police officer in this area overstepping the mark. I couldn't be a police officer. I'd be just tasering people all over the floor, using my truncheon until I got tired. But I witnessed hundreds of times police officers, men and women, diffusing situations to get the proper outcome, and then we stepped in, took the patient to hospital. On one occasion we got a message to pick up a gentleman who, after he spoke to the doctor says, "You're going to hospital, I'm sending an ambulance." So we rocked up at this house, knocking on doors and windows, nobody answering. So we feared for this patient's life. So we called the police and basically said, look, we can't get hold of this person, we need forced entry. And they have a large red key or a large black key. Basically it's a battering ram. So a couple of gigantic police officers rocked up, got their special key out and smashed this door in half. The bottom half just splintered in a million bits. So we all dived inside. It was dark. We had torches on. Even in the middle of the day it was dark. Torches on, hunting up and down for this patient, only for the police officer to touch his ear where his microphone was, and he said, "Yeah, receiving, go ahead." "Yeah, he's where?" "Oh, he's in the hospital." The gentleman couldn't wait for the ambulance, so just got a taxi. Never told anybody. Communication, it's not hard. The coppers had smashed his door to pieces. Oh well. Fire service, fabulous set of girls and boys, eager to help, very well trained, totally switched on. I once did a open day at the fire station in Peterborough, and the fire service requested an ambulance, so of course, yeah, I'll do that. So me and my mate turned up just basically to support the fire service. And they kept saying to us, you know, thank you for volunteering your time. Yeah, no problem, no problem. And they kept offering us free coffees, free food, which was absolutely fine. And as we were packing up towards the end of the day, I was watching their multi-star, their turntable elevator ladder with a box on the top, and I think it goes 101 feet up. And the watch commander came over and said, "Oh, cheers Steve, thanks for helping us out." I thought I'd done it several years. And I said, "Yeah, no problem. Is there anything I can do for you?" And I said, "Can I go in the multi-star?" And I says, yeah, as long as you're harness trained. I was harness trained. So I went up in this multi-star, 101 feet up. And the following year, I took Kat, my carer, and the watch commander said the same thing. Anything I can do for you before you pack up? I says, can you get Kat up? Yeah, we can sort that out. So they dressed her up in all sorts of straps, put her in there, took her up the multi-star. Awesome. One story about the fire service, we went to a tanker, a cylindrical tanker, and he'd gone round a roundabout, maybe a little bit too fierce, and his load had shifted, and it had actually pulled the entire tanker over and the cab onto its side. Person's reported, driver still in the cab, not in a good shape, shall we say. So I had to climb through the sunroof, get inside, do what they call C-spine control, where my colleague then followed in, started checking him out. And it was a bit of a struggle climbing inside through the sunroof. And then we were thinking, how the hell are we going to get this guy out through a sunroof? And then I heard a tapping on the windscreen behind me, and when I turned round, the fire service were there with a big hammer. Just said, cover your patient up, we're going to make this easy for you. The entire world was showered in glass everywhere. Nice breath of fresh air come through, and I turned around and said, cheers mate, it's a lot better now. Always nice to know that somebody's going to help you out. A horse, my kingdom for a horse. After we went on jobs that didn't end well, the police had to be involved to check the body over, and that was routine. So we were on a job doing CPR on this gentleman, very old guy, and it was just probably his time to go. We couldn't get an output, we couldn't get him back, so after about 25-30 minutes we just called it. His wife totally understood. She was, remember little old lady, rock solid. She understood what was going on. So we called the police, and this police officer turned up, and he didn't look right. So I says to this guy, are you okay? And he says, I haven't been in the force a long time. He says, I've been sent along to this job and I've got to check the body over. I said, that's okay, I'll show you where it is. And he gripped me and he just said, I've never seen a dead body before. And I said, oh right, okay. I says, well, go up the stairs to the room at the end of the hall, and when you have to do what you need to do, talk to the patient as if they're still alive, and then talk loud enough so I can hear. Explain to the patient what you're doing, why you're doing it, and then afterwards make them comfortable, put a blanket over them, pillow under the head, as if you're talking to somebody who's still alive. And after about 10 minutes this young lad come down, and he pinked up a little bit. He wasn't as white, and he just thanked me. He said, I'm going to use that every time I have to do one of these jobs. Yeah, dignity? I think so. It worked for me. The multi-star story reminded me of another story. I wasn't with the ambulance service at that time, but it was along similar lines, and I worked for St John Ambulance. I had about 6 years with St John, and due to that being a voluntary service, that actually got me a job in the ambulance service. So whatever you feel about St John, it worked for me. But I went and did a weekend voluntary emergency services weekend, if you like. So there were old fire engines, old police cars, old ambulances, and I was told to meet at Elsica Heritage Centre in Barnsley. And they've got a working, or they did have a working railway. And one of the star attractions was a locomotive called the Mardy Monster, M-A-R-D-Y, Mardy Monster. And while I was demonstrating the bits and pieces in our ambulance, I just kept hearing the whistle of the Mardy Monster. It was immense, huge pulling power. Sorry about the wind. And again, like the multi-star, at the end of the weekend, the guy who organised it said, "Is there anything that we can do for you, but we can't pay you?" And I said, "I don't want paying, it's all voluntary, but can I have a go on the Mardy Monster?" So I got to go on the Mardy Monster, and I tooted the whistle. That was a beast, proper beast. Yeah, happy days. Picture the scene. Standard semi-detached house. As soon as you walk through the door, you turn left, go up the stairs. Night shift, working with paramedic, and we got called to man down. This poor chap had slipped in the shower, and because of his numerous medical problems, he couldn't get himself up. So his wife called us. We turned up, checked this gentleman out. He didn't need to go to hospital. So he says, "Look, if we get you to your feet, where can we take you where you're going to be comfortable?" And he said, "Just along the hallway to the room on the left, it's my bedroom." And like many elderly people, because of medical problems, they do sleep in separate rooms, and then each person gets a good night's sleep. So what you do is you walk the route in order to ascertain, am I going to get stuck anywhere supporting this gentleman? Do we need a chair? Can we support him arm over arm and get him to his bedroom? So I walked the route, and when I went into his bedroom, I was absolutely stunned. It was full of weapons. There was M16s, MP40s, SLRs, Thompson submachine guns, Magnum handguns, Bren guns, just loads. There was piles of them, all deactivated, all owned legally, but I've never seen such an array of weapons, only in a museum. So I said to my mate, take my camera, take a picture of me, with an M16. This one. So yeah, bit of a shocker. So I tried all of them out. You had to hold them, and they were so heavy. Weapons of war. I was always full of admiration for the paramedics that I worked with. Really, really good at the job. I always felt comfortable working with, let's say, many of them. Not all of them, but many of them. And I was on a night shift working with a paramedic one night, and we were at the top side of Peterborough. It was time for our break, pitch black, and I had the main beam on the ambulance, and we came to a roundabout, and there was an owl illuminated in the headlights flying around the roundabout. The paramedic was absolutely awestruck, and he's like, wow. And I'm like, what? And he says, is that an owl? And I said, yeah, that's an owl. He then says, has it escaped? I'm like, escaped from where? A zoo. I says, no, it's wild. It's like, what? They live in the trees? Yeah, and barns. That it's a nocturnal bird. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Even the swan's laughing. But anyway, a little owl story. And just in case he's watching, they're not all in zoos, mate.